Good day. Welcome to another Mr. Kilroy presentation on behalf of the Freedom Pages. Today, the High River Gun Grab. Honestly, I've held off on this for one reason and one reason only. I was vaguely waiting for a mea culpa from the RCMP saying that we were wrong. Silly, naive, foolish, youthful me. The fellows which are the iconic symbol of our country, yes, the men in red serge with the Stetson hat, in the brown boots and the riding pants. Well, here you go, the RCMP. They're saying we always get our man. Well, that's nice. Fast forward, they've had an illustrious history since their roots in what were known as the Northwest Mounted Police. Hell, even American Hollywood producers produced the Nelson Eddy series as him dressed up as a Mountie. And then there was Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police. Everything mythological about the RCMP. Awe-inspiring how they are a mounted police force. Things that you don't know about the RCMP. Well, first of all, they are a regiment in the Canadian Armed Forces. They have seen action in places like Haiti, where they've gone down and policed. It's rather convenient that we have a military regiment that is actually a police force. If you live in Ontario and Quebec, you have the Ontario Provincial Police and the Sûreté de Québec, which are the provincial police forces. If you live in the other 8 provinces and territories, you have the RCMP as your provincial and territorial police. The RCMP has had some, how you would say, more than their share of scandals from flamboyant superintendents who have had leather fetishes, i.e. their whole entire office decorated in leather, at taxpayer expense, of course, to what comes down to basically brutality. As the fellow in British Columbia who worked for the golf course, his job was basically scaring off the geese. He used the shotgun. And other predator control around the golf course. Well, somebody, again, another idiot phones the cops. There's a man at the golf course firing it off. So the RCMP pulled the fellow over as he's driving home. Well, he's on his knees with his hands behind his head, or in a submissive position. An RCMP corporal or constable, I can't remember which, decides to lay the boots into him. There is a weekly newsletter that I subscribe to that has set aside a section for police misconduct. The RCMP are regularly listed in this column. Now, I've held off for more information. Well, the best information so far is that the RCMP in High River decided that they would enter private homes and seize firearms. Of course, there's all kinds of silly people that are absolutely astonished that a firearms owner is even surprised by this, and are actually saying, thank God for the RCMP being on the job. Well, that's fair enough. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. However, the RCMP decided to lie about it all. You know, it all goes back to the same saying. Don't piss down my back and tell me that it's raining. If what you're doing is righteous and lawful, then there's no need for a lie. Or is this just a, how you would say, a protocol in convention with the RCMP? We do not explain anything to anybody, therefore what we tell you doesn't matter, so we'll lie to you. Now, whether you agree with private ownership of firearms or not, there are certain principles that I urge you to consider. Now, I say urge you because not everybody likes to be consistent. Now, if they were coming out with all kinds of grow up material, there would be a hue and cry from the media of the violation of people's homes, their rights, their freedoms. You know, the RCMP had no right to enter these private homes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be consistent with rights. And the fact is that the RCMP were not operating according to law. The fact is that they deliberately targeted homes. And evidence is coming forward that these guys are lying. They're lying from the start. They said firearms in plain sight were being taken. Well, really? Plain sight happens to be in somebody's closet. Dirty footprints leading straight to the closet is all of a sudden now plain sight. All I can say is this, ladies and gentlemen, is that, again, if the police and the people that we hire to run our governments do not have a problem with the violating of our rights, then it is time to get some new people in governance. There was a prime minister many moons ago in Britain. His name was Pitt the Elder. Now, of course, he was born of nobility. He was the first Earl of Chatham. But I would also point out that he was a statesman. And this is the marked difference between government today and Parliament today than Parliament some 200 years ago. Just a little over 200 years ago. And this is what Sir William Pitt the Elder said. The poorest man may in his cottage bid defiance to all the forces of the crown. It may be frail, its roof may shake, the wind may blow through it. The storm may enter, the rain may enter. But the King of England cannot enter. All his force dares not cross the threshold of the ruined tenement. Okay, it was written in a rather archaic form, so I'll reread it in a translated or paraphrased form to modernize it. The most ordinary person, the most poorest person in our society can tell all of the forces of the crown, the police, the army, the RCMP, government officials to get out of my house, stay out of my house, get out, go away. You can even tell them to, like, F off. And it doesn't matter whether that home is a ramshackle shack that leaks when it rains, floods when it rains, and can scarcely withstand the wind. Nobody who is an agent of the government may enter his home. Because again, for all of you that are unaware of it, a man's home is his castle, even if it is a little hovel. And not even the Queen of England may cross the threshold or the doorway of that little shack that he calls home. That is his castle. Nobody goes into it. The next point is that there are certain things here is that the rule of law is just that. We cannot have a free and democratic society without the rule of law. Where the law ends, tyranny begins. Now, again, everybody's all wound up about freedom, tyrants, so on and so forth. But we do not live in a police state. The police cannot act without the authority of law. And what the RCMP has done has broke the law. And in having broke the law, have now stood as common street thugs and criminals do. There's no difference between them now. They cannot claim color of right without the authority of law. I may be a lone voice in the wilderness about this, but in fact, you cannot even claim public safety in this matter. These police had to break into homes. Literally, break into them. Whether they had a locksmith, a lockpick, whatever, they nonetheless broke into the house. They breached the security of the home. There is not a single law allowing them to do this. And all I can say to people that are all right with what they have done, just because they were collecting up people's firearms, is shame on you. If you're all right with that, the next time somebody's house gets broken into and all their grow up material is removed from it, you've got no right to speak out against it. Rights, freedom must apply to everybody equally, no matter what. If the police do not respect the rule of law, how on earth are we expected to respect it? That is all I'll have to say on this today, and I wish people would wake up and realize that it is we, the people of Canada, that hold the ultimate authority. We, our Constitution, is our expressed will. the limits placed upon those who work for the government are in fact there to protect us from them. They always claim necessity. Well, necessity is the reason given to justify all manner of infringement or impositions on people's lives and their freedom. It's also the motto of tyrants, and sadly the creed of slaves. If you can sit there and go, well, it's all for the greater good, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, folks, you one day will wake up and will be saying the same thing, but you will be the subject of the investigation, as it were. Are you still going to be saying it's all for the greater good when it is you in the hot seat, when it is you claiming foul? We cannot let petty public servants decide what they will or will not do. When the law enforcement branch of the government ignores the law, then they can no longer speak for the law. They cannot speak for the crown. They cannot. They lose all credibility. And it's just not a few bad apples. This is something that is, well, part of the system. So I'll leave that with everybody to ponder. You know, if you will not stand up for my rights today, I may not be around tomorrow to stand up for yours. That's just the way things go. There was a wise Lutheran minister who kind of summarized the situation in Germany in the 1930s, and basically the net end result of it is that when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. Now, this was after he didn't speak up for a whole bunch of people that the government had made go away, because it didn't affect him personally, so he didn't say anything. It didn't affect them, and that is the biggest problem here in this country is that people in this country don't get upset about anything until it affects them directly. I've had the privilege of working with a lot of people from around the world, and from the strangest of places, Iran. Believe it or not, price of gas goes up 1 penny. There's a riot in the street. Here in Canada, it's a shrug of the shoulders. Everybody complains about, oh, Harper this, Harper that. Well, you know what? There's been people that have been around a lot longer than Mr. Harper running the government. And all an election does is just change the management, as it were. It doesn't change who's been doing the job all along. And honestly, we need to consider many things, and among them is that the future of the RCMP. Personally, I think every province should have their own provincial police force, if at all. because what it comes down to is that you're now paying the federal government to enforce your provincial laws. Come on now, think about that a moment. But again, like I said, this is all I have to say about this. I leave this with everybody to consider carefully. Many of you Lugans that are running around with your dreadlocks and complain about the hate crimes of the police, so on and so forth, or have taken up this whole free man on the land routine just so that you can live in your parents' basement and smoke pot, consider this. If you don't give a damn about anybody else but yourself, well, guess what? It works the other way too. Nobody will give a damn about you either. That's just a fact of life. For the Freedom Pages, and always looking for better days, I wish everybody a good day.